to be recorded, then maybe now's the time to turn off your camera. But we will record each session for posterity, and they eventually get uploaded to YouTube. And Cristina Cortez, I want to just invite you to read now. You want to read your first piece that relates to the theme this month being Dando Corazon.
Yes. Let me just get it here. 2 seconds.
Yeah, and you're speaking to us from Watertown, Massachusetts, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Let's see here. This first poem is called Mi Herencia, and it is a poem to my grandmother, who gave me the language, who gave me my second language, which is Spanish, which I will explain why it's my second language afterwards. Mi herencia. That woman with white ringlets, bending over the unfinished crochet, white and pink yarn, our tongues twisting, alternating, blending, rivers of language that divide us. ¿Cómo estás, mijita? My stammering tongue ashamed. Grandma's image fades, and sandstone mounts upon itself. Blades of grass stretch further and further, reclaiming space. El tazumal. I stare into the open field. My blood flows and my voice booms from inside. Abuela, ahora te estoy hablando en nuestra lengua, mi lengua. Con orgullo sé que soy una india pipil, con la mezcla del conquistador español. Mi herencia. That's the first poem. And just as a bit of background, I learned English and Spanish at the same time. So technically, they're both my first language.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you. Thank you, Cristina. And we will have you back in the second round. So
yes.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Isaac Chavarria, who I met in person. Gosh, it seems like it was about 10 years ago. We met in Austin for a beat poetry festival that happened. We met at a couple of different places, coffee shop. We had different venues. And I think ACC was the ACC campus was the main location of the festival.
You have a good memory, Tammy. Dang, appreciate that. Okay. Is there a way I can
a little bit about yourself? I know you also have earned your MFA, and you're teaching, but I don't remember where. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're based and anything about hometown ahorita? That's in Alton, right?
Yeah. So I did get my MFA from what's now called UTRGV, and I published a book called Pocho, which I'm proud of, right? And then I'm teaching at South Texas College, which I love being there. And
what city is that in? South Texas College is in McAllen?
McAllen. Yeah. And then what else is going on? I do chapbooks. I just do whatever I can to help people publish their works. I mean, I'm happy writing, but I'd rather hear somebody else's work and see them published, I see.
So you've done a lot of editing and curating.
Yeah, chapbooks and cualquier cosa. Okay. Is there a way I can share my screen? Or can you?
Of course. I'll make that happen for you. And thank you for asking. Of course.
Yeah.
I think. Did it work or no?
Yes. Let me see. Desktop. I guess I can share desktop. I don't know what's going to happen. So. Let's see, application. Oh, okay, here we go. I think I got it. I'm just gonna do the one poem, right? So just real quick before I read this poem, I know the theme is sharing corazón. But sometimes sometimes sharing a corazón is like a dangerous kind of action. And sometimes we don't share the correct corazón, or sometimes we're not too sure about it. It's confusing, sharing corazón to me. Okay. Y'all can hear me okay? Yes? I'm assuming yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so here's a poem. La Llorona. I have always feared La Llorona along El Canal, and when she discovered me, I was done. She crawled on water, gritando, mis hijos, and I, a child of a waiting mother, knew it was me. Mis hijos, decía, and I waited until she reached me. I heard, ya no eres niño, pero tampoco eres un hombre de familia, o un hombre al que puedo comprometer. That night I wailed for myself, mi esposa, mi vida, mis hijas. And that's my poem.
Thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Do you want to give any further explanation? You're free to do that. I mean,
I'm free to. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to give an explanation, right? But it's like you know, they usually use La Llorona, and like we always fear La Llorona, but it's not really the La Llorona we should fear. It's our actions we should fear, or sometimes even the relationships that we have. You know, are we putting ourselves in the right place during these relationships? And you know, one of my fears would probably be that, you know, or probably anybody's fears, like that they're not good enough, you know? So that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
thank you. Thank you. That's a lot to work with. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And next up, Lorena Sanchez, who is originally from Reina.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to say hi to Mr. Chavarria. So it's good to see him here on Zoom. But I wanted to ask him, is La Llorona like a folklore story, or what is that exactly? Because I had my share of the Llorona. When I was a child, we used to joke around about that in school. And I used to live by a canal, and my friends and I would walk through the pathway to get from her neighborhood to my neighborhood. And we always used to joke around that we would see the Llorona. But I was just wondering, what is that folklore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The quick answer is yes, right? So I'll just say the quick answer is yes. So there's a whole bunch of stories, and I kind of usually work with that.
So what inspired you to write about her?
I'll address that after. If not, I'll go on for too long.
All right. Not a public speaker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reina. And yeah, feel free to drop that question in the chat so we can come back to that later, or maybe Isaac might might want to answer there.
Okay.
Lorena Sanchez is from Califas originally and is now living here in Fort Worth. And yeah, I can't wait to hear your work, and take it away. And let's have a round of applause for Lorena, because you're a rare reader. I know that about you, so I want to encourage.
Yes, this is not usually what I do. This is like more of a challenge to me. I love to hear poetry. I love the arts. My husband's an artist. I just wish I had some type of talent, but so sometimes I just like to jot down my feelings, but I haven't really read any poetry. So I wrote this about what's DANDO CORAZON. So the person I thought about is my dad. And my dad has been taking care of his little brother for the past 20 years. My dad's 71 and his brother's 58. And he has Down syndrome, and he's probably has the mental capacity of a 3-year-old. And it's him and my dad are just always together, 2 peas in a pod. So I just wanted to write about him because I don't think he gets the credit for all that he does. So I just kind of thought about him. So here it goes. It's 5 a.m. and like clockwork, they get up and start the day. My dad and his hermanito, or as he would say, his carnalito. They jump in the shower together. It's easier that way. He dresses him and sits him down with his tutu as he rocks back and forth, pushing himself with his feet, waiting helplessly to eat. My dad will make him eggs with some canned green beans, mashed it together because he has no teeth. He serves him and he doesn't get a thank you, but just a few pig grunts. That's the only sound he makes all day. It must bring him comfort in some way. After breakfast, they sit for a few hours under the aguacate tree. Now it's time for a little treat. It's time for his first daily ride. They have nowhere to go, just drive around town, listening to the rancheras with the windows down. When they get back, it's time for lunch because my tío always has the munch. Now it's time to cut his hair, holding him down as he fears the sound, with the clippers to his head, with the look of fear and dread. Next are his nails, it becomes a fight. Not sure why it's such a plight. Sometimes you hear my dad say, "Ay, cabrón," angry for the mess he has adorned. Back to the shower to scrub him down. It's a mess and the smell lingers around. They go for their last ride, but this time they make a stop. My dad gets a beer and drinks it at the park to keep my mom in the dark. They come home before it gets late, and my dad makes him his last mashed plate. After they eat, they go outside, sit under the same tree to kill some time. My dad's a simple man with not much to say, but I see the unselfish love he gives to his baby brother each day. My dad kept his promise that he made on the day their jefita slipped away. I remember the words he whispered in her ear, "Do not fear, it's time for you to go. I will take care of him, so let your spirit flow." And I wanted to show you guys what his tutu is. He's had like a piece of wire with a little rag, and he just spins it all day long. You know, so he always has his tutu with him. So he's like waiting to eat, and he's got his tutu, but he's really good at spinning it. He'll actually spin it, and it goes really flat, and it's actually really hard to do. But if he sees like underwears or curtains, he's gotten curtains, and he'll spin them, and so that's his. It's always, you have to always watch out because he'll make a hole in it, and then he'll start spinning everything.
Wow.
Oh, that's such a dear story. And does your dad know that you wrote this piece, or is it?
No, I just wrote it yesterday. I didn't have, like, this whole week was been. I procrastinated, and it was a hard week. My dogs, my plants, trying to keep warm, worrying about the pipes bursting. It was a mess. So no, I didn't tell him. I think he'd probably just cry if my dad's very sensitive when it comes to his brother. So. But I think one day, I will. I'll read it to him.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing it with us. And that helps me to learn a little bit more about your family.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. My list. Who's on next?
Richard?
Richard.
Yeah, I think I am.
Richard's waving at us there.
Hi, Richard.
That's because I forgot to unmute. Hi, Tammy.
Hi. Richard read before. I think it was back in December?
November.
It was November for
the first one.
Gracias. Yeah, the very first one. Oh, well, welcome back again. And Richard, you're based in Oakland. Anything else you want to share about yourself for folks who have never met you before?
I know Tammy. I've lived all over the country for lots and lots of decades. I'm 60. I just turned 60. I know Tammy from Austin in the late 90s, from the Austin scene and poets. And so now I'm out here. So my thoughts and prayers with everybody down there dealing with the cold. I know some are having a particularly hard time. And, the climate change thing is insane. And like up here for a couple of months this late summer, early fall, we had the wildfires, which were the opposite, where and a lot of people lost everything, and we're lost a couple of years now. And then you also end up with air you can't breathe. We had water but no air. So I hope everyone and everyone's yours and what do you call it? You and yours, everybody's okay. Because rough times. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk about myself. I just want to read the poem. And Tammy, first of all, last month I was there. I'm not sure you guys, anybody who was here last month, raise your hand who was on the, yeah, I'm trying to remember because I forgot to save the chat. And last month, one of the readers had everybody draw a pair of lungs. And it was kind of a beautiful moment. I can't remember who that was. Do you remember, Tammy?
Well, I'm the person that asked for people to bring the paper out and to draw the lungs. And it was Natasha Carizosa.
That's right.
Whose friend Dawn was in the hospital with COVID. And if you don't mind me doing this now, Richard, I'd like to share a slide, just really fast.
Yeah, before I read, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So let me do
Break
that
in.
thing. Okay, you can read this yourself. Don Hutchinson is pictured there in under the blue light, and this here is the message I found on his Facebook page from February 3rd. Had my retest this evening and I'm good to go. Again, I want to thank everybody for their thoughts, prayers, and concerns. I love each and every one of y'all now to build these lungs back up. He's home. He's out of the hospital. I just went on his timeline. I saw he's got photos of him hanging out with his son and talking about other family members. He went through the polar vortexes disaster fiasco that we've all been through. So he's survived the worst of COVID in the hospital. And I want to say it's because we had an intentional moment about that on his behalf for him. And I saved a photo of us holding up our lung drawings. So that's on the Dando Poets. Yeah.
Mine is still right here.
Oh, nice.
It's still sitting right here. I look at it every day.
Such a touching moment. It's very moving. This is my symbol for crying. I was tearing up. And Natasha isn't here with us tonight, but it's her. She's much closer to Don than and so she was representing him.
That's awesome. That really moved me, and I was thinking about how hard. Well, I want to say how hard this last year and these last several years have been, and how hard life can be too. But a lot of people have been lost, and when thinking about Dando Corazon and sharing heart and giving love, I had to think about the grief part as well. And I'm going to read a grief poem. I've actually had 3 of my exes have died over the years, and I haven't had that many more than 3. One early on of HIV, and one was killed by cops actually a couple decades ago in Chicago, and then I had a young lover in the middle of this last decade named Bryce, who was a genderqueer squatter of color who was an amazing person, and we broke up, and they started doing a lot of heroin and had a fentanyl OD the next year, and it was pretty close to when we broken up, and this is how that's not how I got out of my grief, but so this is heavy, and if that might trigger anybody, I just want to let you know, if you need to not listen, but it's about going through grief. It's not, I think I talked longer than it actually is. So sorry about that. Grief House in memory of Bryce. Acutely, we dream, we feel, sounds simple as clouds, till the face foams up, eyes blank, and nothing can be done. They pass, and we are shorn, paper flipping in wind, wings crushed in a machine, heartless. Pour a bottle of wax on my face and walk away. Let the ants come. Let the clouds roll in and rip the trees from their roots. Moths in a whirlpool, we find our way home. Acutely we wake in the thorn-fed hollows of night, stumbling on faces run through by laughter, shocked by the sheer-shot spine of the dark. We reach in the night for half-spun smoke scattered by our fingertips. We call out for someone not present. Half of our skin is ours. The other half bleeds into night as the hungry world feeds on the feeding, begs dawn, lies still, and waits. Try not to worry over the way trees fall or the biting salinity of sea. We come from these and are these, and the billions of dust motes that drift through us hold infinite worlds. Come to the edge of the chasm and look at the strata, gorgeous striped reds and browns glinting with barely seen fossils and gems. How can we be here? How can we be here at all? We lie face to face. We turn each away. Storm clouds burst, and the wind-swept plains are lashed through the day. Acutely we live, ready or not, stepping around vacuums left by the vanished, battling the tide, plunging through time in this slipshod crank of flesh we call home. The circumstance of life, an improbable flower on a crag, rolling on, ready or not, thousands of lives in an old tin tub, your heart a speeding train, whole civilizations bloom in your brain in a flash, so fast it's tender leaves dry and drift. We dream and wake and open our face to the taste of soil and light. Love comes in, and rain and shards, and passes through as you and we and stones and stars and all great loving things. Grief House. Thanks. I promise in the second part I'll read something maybe happy.
Yeah, that was perfect. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks.
I really like that line about the ants uprooting the trees.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to catch what it feels like when you're going through that, you know. It's like, yeah, either squash me or rip it down. You know. Anyway. I'm sorry,
and I just have a comment.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about your ex and losing him, but it sounds like you're reading for all of us and all of us who we've lost. So in using the plural, you're reading for all of us. And yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying, Christina. I mean, that's when I was writing it. I was thinking that too, because we all go through it. I try to write about human things, you know. I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hugs to everybody. Yeah.
No, I just found out about a year ago that one of my long ago partners had passed away, but he'd passed away 4 or 5 years ago. And I feel really, you know, an unresolved tension about that I didn't know sooner and that I didn't get to say goodbye or some final words. And I do believe that this person is worthy of some honoring. And I don't know if his own family honored him for the creative, gentle spirit that he was. And so that's maybe something I need to do. And your poem reminded me of that it's never too late to honor somebody who meant something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Richard, I didn't know when you said that about the person in Chicago, was that Ken Hunt?
It was Ken Hunt.
I never knew how it happened. All I knew was that he was on the platform at the subway station or the L in downtown Chicago, and he was alone and he hit his head. But I didn't know.
I heard a very different story, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I heard an early story, so I knew
Oh.
there was a lot of confusion about what really happened.
Yeah. Well, he was. I shouldn't tell it now. Yeah, but that was who it
Curious,
was.
and now I'll contact you to
We
because
can have a conversation about it. Yeah.
was a good friend of mine. You know,
Yes.
I knew the both of you at the same time. You know,
He was a great poet too, and
Yeah.
we did the performance art thing and performance art church in Texas, in Austin.
DIY journalist, punk rocker, anarchist. Yeah, yeah. I miss him. I think about him more often than you might realize.
No, I have a poem about that grief also. It's in my book, Poems for Teeth. It's the tooth of mourning. Anyway.
Thanks, Richard. And we'll hear your second poem wherever it takes us emotionally. You know, I've got the stamina for it. Believe me, I have no water, so I have the stamina. I can handle anything today. Next up, we have Jose. Are you ready? Jose Rodriguez is also he's here in Fort Worth, Texas, and you want to just give us a little bio of what you work on, who you are, what you bring to this table?
Yeah. So by trade, I'm a packaging designer. Fort Worth my whole life. I met Tammy about 3 years ago. Just been participating in the poems monthly. So I hardly ever, speak out loud on my thoughts or my writings. So this is something new to me. I'm very excited. So yeah, that's about it. And Tammy, I want to share my screen as well, if I could do that. Okay, so this poem right here, it's called Golden Cauldrons. I'm sitting here thinking on the subject at hand, a topic of giving. My heart beats so faint. I close my eyes to picture, my body lays in rest. Deep in prayer, I listen, third eye activate. Twists and turns of mazes, cauldrons of sadness and joy. Golden beams from the center, red blood boils at the core. I feel the warmth extending, the coldness tests my strength. I see wild shadows dancing, for whom I have no say. I take a journey into one deep inside my heart. Do I give for ego, that of ill intent, or a selfless giving found in love and faith? And that's it.
Great illustration. Beautiful.
Yes.
And beautiful words.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thanks so much. Drop in the comments in the chat. Thanks, guys. Thanks for doing that. And I have saved the chat from last month, Richard, so I just have been a little lackadaisical, so I need to add it to the Dando Poets Facebook group. That's where I kind of place things. So feel free to nudge me. I'll do it. Next up, Priscilla Rice. I had issued a special request for a specific poem that you just laid out for us less than a month ago, I think. And I might have heard it in your reading, the the one that you host. I'm blanking out. Sorry, I have pandemic.
No, yes. It was in I did it in a Pleasant Grove. I think it was like in January or no, December.
Yeah. I happened to show up. I really loved the poem, and I thought, oh yeah, this would totally tie into Dando Corazon, which is kind of putting it like I'm, kind of forcing the hand, but you seem to be okay with reading it, so I'm glad.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And can you tell us a little bit about your roles as an art advocate, activist in Dallas, where you're based?
Sure. I am a local actress and poet, but I really have a passion for art activism in Southeast Dallas, particularly where my neighborhood, who has long been an area that's long been ignored by the city of Dallas. So I've been working with other activists like Tammy Melody Gomez, who is in this space with us. So she and I do a lot of advocacy and try to bring arts programming to our community and, and connect artists to resources and stuff. So it's kind of like my role has kind of shifted. I'm still an artist, but I very much feel passionate about advocacy and for bringing arts opportunities, not only for artists, but for community members. So. Okay. With that said, my piece is called Abuelo Poem. For abuelos who dream of better things for their grandkids, who want to protect, who don't want their grandkids to suffer a day in their life or do hard labor. Study hard or you'll have to work in a labor like me, hijos. For abuelos who dream of keeping their nietos and nietas safe, knowing that no amount of love in the world can protect them from la mala gente, but they try. Hoping that their silent prayers protect us when they're not around, even after they're gone. For abuelos with calloused hands from too much work, who have picked sugar beets and worked in factories in harsh conditions or sold fruta out of a truck, accompanied by a grandchild who felt safe being around their abuelos, who found joy riding in your car, looking out the window, or skipping rocks on the lake. For abuelos who quietly wept when everyone was asleep, because they knew the reality that they couldn't protect you always. For abuelos who held it together, never showing their trauma, never showing their tears, always being a tower of strength, never showed their grandkids how harsh life could be. They wanted better for you. They hoped for better for you, but they did the best they could under the circumstances. For abuelos who wanted to show emotions, but didn't know how to, who might not have said, I love you. They wanted to, they really did, but their father and their father's father never once told them, I love you, not once. But they had their own way of showing love. There was love. The back-breaking labor, the multiple jobs, hustling here and there to keep the luces on, the lights on, and food on the table, the little sleep in between shifts, the emotionally distant husband, father, abuelo, tío, who was too tired. I'm not making excuses for you, abuelos. All I'm saying is, I understand. Yo entiendo. Working jobs that you absolutely hated because you had kids at home. You didn't have the luxury to complain. It was a sacrifice. When that's all that life has to offer, I get it now. For all the abuelos who didn't get to heal, who didn't know what it was like to rest in this lifetime, I've got you, abuelos. In your honor, for all the times that you wanted to but didn't, I'm telling my family that I love them. For all the times that you wanted to just let everything out, I am hearing you now. I don't have to work those back-breaking jobs. You were planting seeds for me, for future generations. I am here to reap all that you sowed. I am your wildest dream. The abundance of love that you had inside, and the trauma and the harshness, all of it, for abuelos who didn't speak English, or very little, but they were not stupid. They knew when they were being ridiculed in English. They knew, but they never let us know, did they? Abuelos kept it together for the grandchildren never imagining that any grandchild would face trauma, or even worse, taken from this earth. We are here to hold space for you, abuelos.
Thank you. That's such a treasure. And can you see it like in combination with what we heard from Lorena about her? Yeah, that's just such a sweet combo. You know, it's like we notice what the men are sacrificing and what the choices they've had to make. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Glad you're here, Priscilla. Are you feeling it?
Yes, because I mean, it was already like going on a journey, right, with everybody. It's like y'all are just taking me to different places. So of course it influenced the way I said my poem, you know, Richard and Jose and Isaac and oh my gosh, you know, all of y'all. So
thank you. Ahorita we're going to hear from Guadalupe Gonzalez Perez. First time for us to hear her here in the Dando Poet Series. And I know that you moved from the Fort Worth area where you have been a bilingual education, a teacher, an educator, and now you're in the San Antonio area. And correct me if I'm wrong, and please add to what I've just said because folks need to know who you are.
She's muted.
So yeah, there you go.
I have been teaching since this whole pandemic started, using Zoom, and I'm not I'm really far to become an expert on using this communication. I'm old school. Well, I grew up in Matamoros. I was born in Texas, in Brownsville, but as you know how the dynamic goes in the Valley. I grew up in Matamoros, my first language, and my poetry, actually, my writing, it's in Spanish. I know that I was lucky to start writing poetry as part of a healing process. I went to law school in Mexico, that's my background, and I migrated. So my daughter, my son, my daughter, and myself, we are ELLs, or English language learners, but we are very proud of our heritage. Life took me to Fort Worth 3 years ago. And now I'm here at San Antonio. The pandemic took me, COVID brought me to San Antonio to share this school year with my kids. Now I'm teaching at San Antonio ISD at a dual language program, and I'm really proud to be teaching in Spanish to my kids because I truly believe in the richness that we add to this country. No sé, mi poesía es en español y me siento muy orgullosa también de compartirla en español porque somos muchos los que hacemos mejor este país. Y I can relate to your poetry, that all these emotions, all this energy that we are experiencing at this point. What I usually do is I try to find the best at every situation. So I started writing these short stories. It's poetry, but it doesn't have like a metric. When I started, I was confined at Fort Worth, living on my own. So I started walking to feel better. And I started taking pictures around town. I have an Instagram account where I share my black and white, or my photograph. It's visual poetry, and it's also with poetry. So I'm going to share with you one short story. I call my page Exilio Forzado, because as part of that process, I moved to, first I migrated to the States, and then I moved from the Valley to Fort Worth, and later, now I'm here at San Antonio. So I started writing these stories and portraying Fort Worth. Actually, Fort Worth, it's in my mind and in my heart and in my plans to be there. But this year it was for us to be closer with our family. And that's why I'm here in San Antonio. Les voy a compartir un poema. Son 31 cuentos y voy a leer el poema 24. And what I usually do is I try to write kind of love or trato de imaginar algo mejor para que no duela tanto, porque sí duele. 24. Dice, este es el cuento 24. Y si comenzamos por comprender que no todo está perdido, que nuestra vida al exterior ha pausado solamente, que somos siempre un proceso y que ahora es tiempo de reconstruirse desde adentro. Caminaba por el centro de la ciudad y me encontré un panorama desolador. Las calles vacías, el silencio que apesadumbrado hacía eco en las bocacalles. El domingo le llegó como un espasmo paralizante a mi alma. La respiración se me acortaba. No sé si inconscientemente yo la pausaba. Los parques lucían vacíos. Las entradas estaban bloqueadas. En el centro de convenciones se reunían los más vulnerables. Iban por víveres que una iglesia cristiana les entregaba. La policía vigilaba. Me hacía paso entre las calles en patrón cruzado, atravesando el plano central de la ciudad, de norte a sur, de este a oeste, recorriendo mi historia personal. Mientras avanzaba, sudando la saudade que caía lentamente como cae la tarde sobre mis hombros. Me detuve frente a una construcción, admirando las estructuras que a una remodelación daban soporte. El sol de la tarde me regaló la mejor de las imágenes. Nunca es tarde para comenzar a renovarse. A medio camino, medio renovado, medio destruido, brillaba de manera majestuosa. Justo en ese momento me acordé de ti. Tenía días intentando evadirte, evitarte, no pensarte, jamás volver a pronunciarte. Y estabas ahí, bañado en luz frente a mí. Vaya manera que tiene de llamarnos la vida a cuentas. Dejé de buscarte y te encontré ahí. Como resplandor, frío y distante, pasaste frente a mí. Se le negaba de nueva cuenta esta tarde la emoción de coincidir. Guardaré la memoria de esa luz inconfundible que a tu paso por mi vida dejaste. Y este es uno de esos 31 cuentos que les llamé cuentos en cuarentenados. Los escribí estando ahí en Fort Worth y van a la par con las imágenes. So this is what I do.
Thank you.
Gracias, Tammy, por invitarme. Muchas gracias.
Very beautiful. And we'll hear your second poem in the second round, okay? And you,
yes.
I don't know what you said that made me think of this, but yeah, you talked about your Instagram. Si puedes poner your Instagram name, y everybody else here who wants to, just offer that up if you want to make that available, Instagram, or how people can reach you via social media or email, or if you have something for sale, like a chapbook, and you have the ordering, the website, that feel free to put that in the chat as well. Gracias. Next up, we have Kit Jones, who is also based here in Fort Worth and is a counselor, therapist, and also very involved with a lot of great movement in terms of politics and direct action here in the Fort Worth or North Texas area. So anything else you want to say about yourself, you're welcome to add that to what I might have said, Kit. And welcome.
Thank you very much. You hit on all the main points that I wanted to let y'all know that I don't do a lot of, most of my writing it has to do with social activism and so forth these days. I never was I've always read and written a lot, but not really in poetry unless I've had some big breakup, and then that's when it comes out. And fortunately, I haven't had that happen in a long time. So, but this, what I have for you all tonight to share with you is something that I share it with most of my clients because it's something that you know, before I went back to college, I was one of those people who it had a long circuitous route to education and professional life and so forth. But a lot of it had to do with having gone through a lot of therapy early in life. I came from a great big crazy family, and it took a while to get understand all of that and work through things. And so this was something that I was working up downtown Fort Worth at a bank on a temp job one day, and I came into work in the morning, and there was just something that just had to come out before I could actually start working. So this is what it was, what came out that day. And it's very short, and it's called My New Family. My new family encourages my growth and maturity, cheers me on when I feel, hugs me because we all need nurture, can be trusted with my innermost thoughts and emotions, listens to me talk about anything important to me, helps me to think straight, and expects and teaches me to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kit.
Thank y'all.
Oh, there's someone in. Lane Calabro, are you in the room? Yes. Lane is speaking to us from Saratoga Springs, New York tonight. And Lane is somebody who I met here in Fort Worth when you lived and worked here. And hopefully you will draw you back to North Texas again if that's meant to be. But for now, we're staying connected in other wonderful ways through social media and phone calls. And thank you for your call this afternoon. That meant a lot, Lane. And I'm glad you're here now. So Lane is also a published poet and has, well, I know of a lot of your work because I've been a collaborator with you in multimedia design and really great stuff. Video production, etc. So Lane, take it away and enjoy.
Thanks, Tammy. Thank you, everyone. It's really great to participate and be here with all of you. And I appreciate the motivation. I did have a nice phone call with Tammy today, and she reminded me of the gathering, and it motivated me, and I needed that. You know, I left Fort Worth about 1.5 years ago, and my heart goes out to y'all in Texas. My son's still in Austin, and you know, my heart's just been broken, really. And it's tough, you know, but I love being up here. I'm up in the Northeast. I came back to be with my mom and my dad and my family because I grew up here, but I lived in Texas for 29 years. So And since I moved up here, I haven't really been writing much because I got up here and lived for 8 months, and then COVID hit. So the community has been, it's just been a different way of life and learning how to connect. And luckily there is Zoom and I can connect with my Fort Worth people, and I am learning to, get a new community up here, but it's been different for all of us. So I wasn't really expecting to read, but it was nice because sometimes it's nice for me to work quickly. And I found some words that I had written, and it's interesting to hear the caregiver sort of theme almost, or hearing a little bit about the poems about the caregiving. And that's really what this is. It's short, and here it is. Not to worry. As the buzzard swoops in and sucks the sensibility out of her head. Please don't react. When lines on her calendar merge and melt into a continual sunset, where birthdays are forgotten and appointments must be kept. Fretting is futile. When the husband of 50 years is now called Fred, an unknown hallucination of a man who holds her hand. Silence sensibility as she gorges candy and butter, trying to fill the loss of ocean breezes, friendships, and simple card games. Wash away the wisdom that water sustains as the wine glass touches her lips. Squelch the urge to question the pile of pills, wondering if the disparate army of doctors know who else is fighting on the front line. Ignore the penetrating aroma. Just stop your human nature to correct the bombastic mind of dementia.
That's such a difficult experience to catalog. It is intense, as Richard said, it is intense to be there kind of describing the lay of the land, how it is, yeah.
I don't even know that I realized I was a caregiver so much till I look back, It's interesting.
My father would wander out of the house and people would call in the neighborhood and tell my mom, Ted is over here on this street, so you might want to come pick him up. And I mean, we kind of laugh about it now. I mean, it was worrisome, but we were lucky that people in the neighborhood knew that my father was vulnerable and was needing to be watched over. But thank you for sharing that. And it comes from a place of love, it's intense, it's hard, but it's part of the love experience in families, for sure.
It definitely is part of the love experience. So that's why I shared it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lane. At this moment, if Graciela, if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and invite you to read. Graciela is a librarian at a alternative high school in Dallas. And Graciela was part of the Chicano Movimiento movement here in North Texas. And yeah, I welcome you to read this poem. You said that you had one that you'd like to offer. So go for it.
First of all, this is amazing. This is the first time that I joined your group, Tammy, and I'm gonna definitely continue being part of it. Can you hear me?
Very well. Yes, very well. Take your time.
Yes. Oh, okay. And I'm sorry that I'm not able to get the camera working, but for sure next time we'll work out all the kinks. But Tammy, this is amazing. I've been following, you know, what you've done, all your activities, and you know, I'm very, very inspired, just like you inspired the students at Townview. And it's a magnet school in Dallas, and it was just a fabulous presentation that you did. I did retire already, about going on the 2nd year, and I miss doing these literary programs. And I think I found what is going to continue feeding my heart as well, loving our poetry and literature. I was very fortunate to have received a grant from the American Library Association back when I was at Townview. And I was able to organize Latino authors, I forget what I called it. Probably, yeah, Latino authors literary series. And that's when I brought authors to the library, and then I share them with other schools like Sunset High School and the Dallas Public Library. This was an amazing year when I was able to do that and bring authors like Dr. Gloria Velasquez. She was a professor, and she is now retired, but she has published many books like Superwoman Chicana, and her latest one is Toy Soldiers and Dolls, a bilingual publication that today I was so happy to receive a copy that she mailed to me from California. But back in the 97, a group of friends in Dallas of artists and writers submitted our work to an anthology that was published. It's called Corazon del Norte. And this was including Maria Teresa Pedroche. She's just a beautiful, beautiful artist. And she did the cover of the book with a beautiful illustration of corazones, just bright corazones en el mar, in the sea, because she grew up in Brownsville. And so she mixed that with, like, she explained to us, she lived in Brownsville where they experienced a lot of hurricanes. So she mixed the intensity of the waters during a hurricane with our beating hearts. And it's beautiful. And that was the theme of the anthology, Corazón del Norte. And some of us submitted our works, and I was happy that mine was selected. And it is in Spanish because it's dedicated with my mother in mind, as she is at the time, she was my audience, because I had just lost her to cancer, and it was a very painful experience to see your mother go through that. And it was devastating, of course, like many of us have experienced losses that have truly changed our lives. And we survived, though. We're survivors from that. So I would like to share this. It's a brief poem in Spanish. And again, my audience was my mom. And it's titled En la Oscuridad. Mientras en la oscuridad arrullo a la niña en su alcoba, mis pensamientos se fijan en ti. Silenciosamente ruedan lágrimas de mis ojos y mi corazón profundamente añora tu cariño y tu calor. Busco tu imagen, tu voz, tu amor, tu presencia, y solamente te encuentro infinitivamente en mi memoria. And it's going to be 31 years since she passed, and she passed on Mother's Day back in 1989. So it was so profound that I felt like she was such a great mother that, you know, it was befitting for her to have passed on Mother's Day. But it's very sad for me every Mother's Day, and it's difficult to celebrate for my daughters to celebrate me on Mother's Day, because I think of the passing of my mother on that day 30 years, almost 31 years ago. But I was touched by all of you that did your readings. It was just amazing. And I think that this is a wonderful platform for us to help each other and to share, you know, share our thoughts and our writings. And it's just wonderful. So thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you, Graciela. Thanks for sharing and for explaining a little bit of the meaning of that for us to know about. And Richard has put some information there in the chat about the anthology, Corazón del Norte, published by Wings Press. So folks can at least know when it was published. There may be copies in public libraries or university libraries in Texas that you might have access to, because apparently the book's out of print ahorita. Folks, we are now we've heard from everybody in our sequence of invited poets, and I'd like to invite us to take a quick little biological break so you can run to the restroom. Hope it flushes if you have water. If not, you know, you get the bucket. Everybody's doing things different this week. It's such a magical time because you get to be creative with how you solve your little household problems. Soda, cerveza, water, whatever you drink, get some food for the cat. And we'll be back here in about 5 minutes. I'll put on a little music, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Tony Mercado. He's going to tell us about a podcast that I think we should all know about here in this month of love. And yeah, so then we'll start back with the poets reading one more poem, starting with Christina and going through the list again. All right, thanks. See you in about 5 minutes. Appreciate it.
Well, at least it's not on ice.
So welcome back, everyone. And I'm excited to continue the second half. We've gained a few more listeners. Thanks for being here, Tom and Rita, and those who had just joined us here in the last 15 or 20 minutes. I want to invite Tony Mercado to speak for a bit about a podcast that he has launched. And I'm going to show the slide that you sent me, Tony, and you can unmute yourself. Tony is also the person who has been doing the graphic design for all of the flyers for the Dando Poetry program series. So if you like the art, give him some snaps. You know, I pay him a few dollars every month. So I think that, you know, you're very appreciative of that, Tony. I'm really glad that it is something I can offer. But if you want to also put your Venmo in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. So are you sitting at your computer, Tony? There you are. Let me
yes,
pull up. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, I have Tammy on a subscription-based thing where I do some graphics for her and she throws me some little coins here and there. But I'm happy to do them, and I'm happy that Tammy's continued to put these on, especially during these kind of crazy times that we're in. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I'm actually a part of a couple of different organizations here in DFW. So I'm one of the founding fairies of Third Space DFW, which is a art collective made up of all queer artists. So we put on events for the LGBT plus community. And then I work at Impact DFW, which is a social group for Black and Latinx men who are gay and bisexual in between the ages of 18 and 29. And that is what this podcast is about. So this podcast is basically we're collecting stories. So we are collecting coming out stories, and it could be from all of the LGBT plus Q community. And we're just trying to document it, and it's kind of like a self interview, and you kind of answer questions about your coming out experience, and then also just kind of get to tell your story. So it's called Voices from the Closet. It's available on all platforms right now. So it's on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor, and like 10 other podcasts that I didn't even know existed. So if you're on some kind of podcast, yes, I will definitely link. I can link it in there, and it's basically just coming out stories. So right now, we're just in our very first episode. We launched like last week, I want to say, and it's my coming out story, and we're just trying to collect as many stories as possible. So if you know anyone, or if you would like to share your coming out story, please contact us. We're at Impact DFW on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll put that in the chat as well. Or you could just also email me, TonyM@AOC, and you can get to me that way. But thank you again, Tammy, and then I'll put the info in here, and please listen, share, and get more people to tell their stories, because that's really what we want. We want as many different perspectives at the table, and it's really just kind of helping people in the coming out process, and also just kind of helping people that have already come out and are still kind of experiencing all that stuff and having that shared experience.
Amazing. I heard that episode with your coming out story, Tony, and I did tear up. It's really moving and sincere, and I'm very excited that you've created this platform for others to be able to tell their stories and that they're shared publicly like this. So I wish you all the luck and all the support in the world for this awesome venture. And thank you for supporting the Dando Poetry series with the graphic art design work that you do. And I'm so glad you can be here. And if you ever want to share a poem yourself, you know where to reach me or how to reach me.
Thank you, thank you. I'm a listener, but yes, I will I will make some poetry specifically for these, and I will share one day.
Thank you so much. Cool. And yeah, you're going to have that info in the chat as well. So I want to just quickly mention that for next month, for the Dando Poetry Program Series in March, that I'm already focusing on what the theme is going to be. And I've got some poets kind of lined up or on my wish list. My friend Donna Hoffman, who read last month, and she's an environmental activist, eco activist, and she talked about the Gulf Coast Week of Action. And so I'm here to remind you that it's happening in the month of March, mid-March, and it's kind of gonna dovetail with our next poetry program, which will be in mid-March. So for the next Dando event, it's gonna be Dando Agua, giving water. And we're gonna focus on literature or poetry that addresses our love of the sea, our love of the ocean, our need for water, our respect for water. And here this week, so many of us have been without. I have no running water in this place right now, and that's the third day. Today's I'm confused. Let's see, I've had no hot water for 4 days, and I've had no running water for 3 days. Yeah, that's it. Math is hard for me. So yeah, so water is the subject for next month, and there is an awesome anthology that was just published by some folks in the South Texas area. Is it Katie Hirth? How do you say her last name, Isaac? I've never known how to say Katie's last name. It's H-O-E-R.
You said it properly, Katie Hirth.
Okay.
Yeah, H-E-R-T-H, almost. Hirth.
Hirth,
Katie
okay.
Hirth.
Yeah, Katie Hirth is the editor of this anthology on poetry about the ocean and the sea. And so I'm gonna hit them up for some feature readings next month. So specifically, I'm really interested in, and this is kind of a challenge, if any of you here who have read before or want to present something next month, to consider creating a video poem so that we can see actual footage of the water that you're writing about. So if it's a favorite river or stream, a little creek behind your house, or some photography of some special place where you live, like where Ramsey lives, because like he's all about the water, living along the Gulf Coast in Alabama where he is based. Yeah, so that can accompany your written poem and your spoken poem. Maybe it could be kind of a multimedia presentation, because I want to encourage us to also present our work in those formats here in the Dando Poetry Program Series. So then it would be a matter of just sharing your screen, and then you'd show your original video or audio, whatever you have to bring. So yeah, you can chat with me on email or hit me up on Facebook if you want to discuss that a little bit more for March. That's the plan, to have that be the theme for, in conjunction with the week of Gulf Coast Week of Action. That's going to be kind of a coastal event. So thanks for listening about that. And we're gonna resume the readings in a second. I'm trying to think if there's any household stuff that I need to share. I am going to resume the recording because I paused it, and yeah, here we go. Okay, so first up is Cristina Cortez with her second poem. What you got, Cristina, on any topic or theme of your choice? The mic is yours.
Can you hear me? I'm just checking the sound.
Oh yeah, you sound great. You sound great.
Yeah, okay. So this second poem that I'm gonna share with you is actually from my chapbook that was just released 2020. My first chapbook, it was released in June of last year. So, I'll put the link in the chat after the reading, but here it is. It's titled Coricancha, from my chapbook, Tawantinsuyo Poems of the Time of the Inca. This book is a bilingual book, so there is translation in Spanish and There's English and Spanish in this book. I'm going to be reading the English version of this. So, here we go. Coricancha. Before the Spaniards came, my walls were covered in gold plates. I, the temple of Coricancha, was covered in gold. My gardens were decked with statues of the creatures of the valleys and mountains made of gold. My gardens also were decked with trees of gold and silver leaves. The Spaniards stripped me bare of my gold and silver, but I still stand. The Spaniards built a church to their God to cover up the past, but I still stand. An earthquake came and crumbled their church, but I still stand. I am Coricancha, the central temple of Cusco, the sacred dwelling place of the royal ancestors of the Inca, until the Spaniards burned them and disturbed their rest, stripping me of my gold and silver. The Spaniards built a church to their God to deface me, but I still stand. Here I still stand. Here I still stand after 500 years. Here I still stand. I move with each earthquake, but I stand still. The walls of the cities built by the people of my land still stand, and the fog of time descends upon the land.
Wow, that's so appropriate for those of us who are surviving this week and going through everything that some of us noted in the chat. And I'm going to look forward later to reading all of those thoughts because I'm kind of, in the middle of it all now. Christina, great choice. Thank you for sharing that. And would you please put your information about how people can order the book? If
yes,
it's available?
I'll do that right now, but the link has seemed to disappear because Zoom deletes links after a certain amount of time. So I'll find it again and get it right there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Again, the book is bilingual. So you have English and Spanish side by side.
Oh, I love it.
Or one after the other, like more likely.
And who published that for you, Christina?
A press in New York called Books and Smith, that is a bilingual press as well. So this is one of their first chapbooks that is intentionally bilingual, that is not translated in a separate volume. So you have both English and Spanish at the same time in the same book.
Congratulations with that publication.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tammy. And thank you all for supporting the readings tonight. Really wonderful.
Next up, we have Isaac Chavarria. And Isaac, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen a little bit, but before I do so, about this poem, so sometimes these poems are inspired by like myself, other individuals, stories I hear. This one maybe by my father, who, just so you know, was a horrible person. I laugh at it, but it's not funny, but he was a horrible person. And sometimes when we talk about the heart, we always say like, as long as your heart is in the right place, and sometimes our heart has to go through a journey to reach that right place. Our heart isn't always like instantly pure or at the right place. And so I think this poem might be about that. we'll see what it's about. Let me see if I can get it shared first. Huh. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find it and I cannot. So I'm just going to read it then. Okay. So let me just read the poem in that case.
Oh, well, do you want us to maybe move to the
wait.
person?
I found it.
I knew that would happen. I just needed to talk a little minute. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm caught between mi amiga y marida, entre el machismo y la jotería, entre punk y corrido, entre chicano y American, entre chiste y duelo, entre un ladrillo and a block, entre la casa y la calle, entre renovation or demolish, entre trabajo y más trabajo, entre tus golpes y tu corazón, entre 10 años y ahorita. And that's it. So, thank you all.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for the visual presentation. I'm loving that. And I encourage folks who want to explore doing that kind of thing. Maybe Isaac can give us tips. But sure. Yeah, I love it. And it's just, you know, more ways for us to fulfill, you know, receive the promise of the poem, you know. The journey is part of the process, said Jose. Yes. Yes, indeed. I dare say that my heart is moving into the correct place. It's in the, you know, equidistant within the different sets of ribs, and I feel good. Except that I was beating faster. Some friend of mine said, Tammy, you know, your heart beats really, really fast when it's extra cold. So, you know, I did have a little bit of a fear of some things happening to my heart when it was like, you know, 24 degrees inside my apartment. So yeah, that's why I've been wearing this sweater nonstop for 7 or 8 or 10 days. I don't remember. It's part of my body now. I am part mammal. See ya. So yeah, with humor, you know, we can survive anything. Tom, I wish I could hear your laugh. You have the best laugh. So next up, we have Lorena Sanchez. You got another poem? Can you swing the tutu again for us?
Oh, where's the tutu?
More tutu. More cowbell, more tutu. Thank you. And whose chones are those, by the way?
Look, no, this is just a little rag, but no, he'll get my mom's chones, boxers, you name it, socks. Oh,
great story. I'll never forget that now.
All right, this is just something I wrote this morning because I'm going through the change, and I don't know you know, what my husband knows what I'm talking about because he has to deal with me. But here it is. In front of the mirror, I do not like what I see. Who is this old lady staring at me? How did this happen so fast? Why didn't my young years last? My skin is thin, my eyes have bags, my back is stiff, gonna need a lift. I can't enjoy that piece of meat without it getting stuck between my teeth. I'm not going to lie, I think my eggs are getting dry, or maybe they're just ready to die. I must not let it get me down, and I must not walk around with a frown. I must find something good about getting old, but I want to skip the pages of what's to unfold. The one thing I find during this age and time, I don't give a shit about looking fine. Just let me enjoy my glass of wine, for all I want is a peace of mind.
Yay.
All right. Tackling the M.
Oh, girl.
Yes. It's a struggle, but I'm almost over that hump, I think, hopefully. I don't know.
You know, there's always another one, though. I'm 70.
Oh, don't tell me that.
One hopes.
Oh, no, I'm getting a hot flash now. No.
Oh, yeah. One of my coworkers referred to a hot flash as a tropical paradise vacation for one.
Oh, yeah.
That lasts 20 minutes.
Oh, man. Not fun.
You're lucky.
All right. Thank you, Lorena. Great, great visuals. Thank you. And the rhymes. It's nice. You know, rhyme scheme is not something that I include in a lot of my writing. So I really, my ears really enjoy it. It kind of tickles the ear to hear, you know, folks who do the rhyme scheme in their work. Yeah. Richard, you're up next. You got some mood setter for us?
Mood setter. Or a table setting. Yeah, so as promised, I'll read a happier piece that's actually about the experience of love. It's also very short. But Tammy, I have a little question. The other day I came across a poem I wrote in like 1986. It's like 10 seconds long. That's about, not about love, but about love poems. And I laughed. And I wonder if it'd be okay to read that too. It's like
I don't know.
short.
I don't know. Can we spare 6 seconds for Richard, you guys?
It's like 10 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, yeah, sure.
Well, anyway, I hadn't seen it in like 25 years or something. It's regarding love poems. If it is lush, I have a crush on you. If it's banal, a femme fatale is due. And if it flatters, it's self-flattery. But if it's true, there is no you or me. Regarding love poems. I laughed when I found it, so I thought that'd be cute. This is super short. It's a sort of a little prose poem or flash prose. I call them flash prose. But it's also true. And it's actually written about my very first lover many years ago, but it could go with anything, anyone. I've had this experience several times. I called it Our Face. When I was in love with you, I felt at times like I had your face. Not just the thought of it, but your actual physical face. I would walk down the street with your cheeks, your mouth, your bone structure, your brow. It was a shocking sensation that shattered my pillar of self. It came and went for weeks, then occasionally surfaced as our love grew on and faded. And decades later, occasionally still does. Just a little thing that happens.
Yeah. Oh, I love that cover. It's such a beautiful cover. When did that one come out?
It came out in November. Mm-hmm.
Oh, just recently.
Came out just before the first one of these, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we need to feature you and have you read more from that work.
Oh, sometime. Yeah.
Sometime, yes, for sure. Yeah. Gracias. Great work. And
Gracias.
I know I think you earned your MFA from Brooklyn College. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Long ago.
Long ago. Yeah. And are you currently teaching? Are you in academia?
No, I taught for like 8 years around New York. And I love teaching. Is anybody a teacher? Anybody teach? I really loved it. It's just the act of teaching and, you know, sort of like, you know, leading people to find information. I don't think of it as shoving it into their heads or anything. But the experience of seeing like, I don't know, 20 or 30 light bulbs go on above people's heads is thrilling. But the experience of working in academia is awful. I couldn't stand it after a while. I'm not that mean. Anyway, no, I'm scraping by. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Next up is Jose Rodriguez. Jose, let's see where you are. Oh, there you are.
I'm right here.
Okay, welcome back to the mic.
Glad to be back. So, so I made this writing back in 2017. It has to do with love, you know, kind of more of the feeling I got whenever, you know, I saw someone that I liked for the first time. So that's what this writing's about, and it's called Visions. Time stood still for a moment, looking in your eyes. Is it the drink in my system kicking, or the astral plane I pass? I see you and you see me. I wonder, can you really see? A tale of one man's journey, deeper and deeper we go. Black and white faces surround me whispering, I can no longer hear. Red lips so luscious, they kill me with a language of their own. Tell me, miss, am I dreaming? I'm praying, Lord, please don't take this away. Words soft-spoken, I listen, the same wavelength we travel on. I'm no longer thinking. Your look penetrates my soul. With each breath taken, tell me, who are you and where did you go? Like a dagger in the wind, I'm cut open. You're both quiet and unforeseen. Look through my eyes and see truth, the truth, my only truth. The essence of my being is bleeding open. Tell me, will it heal with time? Time stood still for a moment, a lifetime for you and me. Time stood still for a moment, a lifetime vision passed too soon. Thank you.
Oh, that's sweet. Very sweet. Thanks for sharing, Jose. Gracias.
Yeah, no problem. So that's kind of what I feel whenever I see someone, you know, that I really like. And it's that, you know, it's that sense of, you know, giving yourself, you know, for that brief moment, like you get wrapped up in that moment and it just kind of takes you away. And you have like these, I don't know, these thoughts of, you know, this, it's like a whole lifetime passes before you. It's like, you know, you see like a life, you know, and then it just like the spell's broken and you're just snapped out of it, you know. So that's kind of where it came from.
Qué romántico. Next up, we have Priscilla Rice. Are you ready, my friend?
Hola, hola. Yes, I am. I'm going to read this piece. I was very hesitant to read it, but I was like, this piece goes with the previous piece, because the previous piece I had written it for many grandfathers, right? But I was inspired by the grandfather of Santos Rodriguez, right? And for those that don't know Santos Rodriguez was murdered by a Dallas police officer almost 50 years ago. He was 12 years old. But this poem is actually a love letter to Santos. I never knew Santos. But so, you know, it's very, the story of Santos is very tragic, but I hope with this poem, I hope that it brings some light. I hope it brings some hope on who Santos was and who the boy was. So this is my love letter to Santos. Santos, ¿cómo eras? What kind of music did you listen to? Did you sing Bad, Bad Leroy Brown, the baddest man in the whole damn town, badder than the old King Kong, meaner than a junkyard dog? When you hung around with your brother or con tus amigos, or maybe Jim Croce wasn't your style. Did you like those Mexican rancheras de Flor Silvestre y Antonio Aguilar that your abuelo played? Or did you roll your eyes when your older primos and primas listened to me and Mrs. Jones? Grown-ups can be so cheesy, no? Or maybe you were one of those Deep Purple music kind of kids, playing records of Smoke on the Water, dreaming of a summer that all of us at 12 years old dreamed of. What did you dream about? Did you want to be an astronaut or a teacher or a lawyer? Or maybe you love cars so much that you dreamed of fixing them, painting them candy apple red or a midnight blue. Or maybe you dreamt of driving to the Grand Canyon. Did you play sports? Or maybe you were more of an artist. Did you like science and look up at the stars and trying to connect constellations and wondering what it was to walk on the moon? Did you catch frogs and horned toads in the backyard of your abuelo's porch and play street ball like so many of us did back then? Santos, I think we would have been friends. I bet you were the coolest kid, so cool that everyone in Little Mexico liked you. When you would walk down the street, decían, hey, ahí viene el Santos. El Santos. That must have been so cool to have a name like Santos. It reminds me of the great luchador, El Santo. In fact, you are kind of like our Santo. Most of our names are forgotten after we're gone, but yours, Santos, it lives on and on and on. In fact, your name is so dope that there's a park named after you aquí in Washington State. How many kids can say that? But you know what, Santos? I wish there weren't parks named after you. I wish we didn't have to shout your name in the street so people could remember your name and all the names of brown boys taken by police officers. No, murdered. I wish you were out there shouting with us, presente. I wish you and I were friends and that we could visit your old neighborhood in Little Mexico and say, mira nomás, I remember when. Ay, Santos, I bet you have some funny stories and some sad ones too. Some really sad ones. Too sad for any 12-year-old or for any adult. Santos, Santos, you are as presente as ever. No te olvidaremos. Esos curls que tenías en tu cabello y esa sonrisa de niño bueno. Una fotografía always grabada en mi corazón. Ay, tu mamá, ¿cómo estará? I think of her all the time. And I think of you too, Santos. I think we would have been friends.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, I think his mother has passed away, and that makes me even more sad that she didn't get to see any justice for her son.
Yeah, it's incredibly heartbreaking, but I don't know. I wrote the piece basically just because I'm afraid that people will forget Santos, and I think, you know, it's something that keeps repeating itself, and it's like you don't really hear about the boy, right? And I'm like, there was a boy behind this tragedy. There was a child that felt joy, that felt all these things that we felt. I'm sorry, my 5-year-old's trying to make an appearance.
Cute. He's 4-year-old.
Oh, he says it's 4-year-old.
4-year-old.
He's 5.
Okay. Thank you for that, Priscilla. And I know you've got new fans because of that piece and the other. So thank you for your time and bringing that forward for us. And yes, presente. Santos is presente for sure. And yeah, can you give us your contact information also, Priscilla? And if you have the date for the next Pleasant Groove open mic, Priscilla hosts along with Tamitha Curiel the Pleasant Groove open mic, which is kind of celebrating the Pleasant Grove voices of Pleasant Grove, Texas. Thank you. Next up, and I know we're at the 2-hour point, but it's okay. We've got 3 more poets who are scheduled in the lineup to read. We got Lupita next, and then Kit and Lane. So Guadalupe, ¿estás lista?
Mute myself first, and then I'm going to share my screen so you can see how it looks. This is my Instagram account, and I'm surprised of how things work because I was talking about forward and these stories that I wrote with these pictures, and I choose number 27, and this is one. This is one of the bridges in Forward. Actually, it's in the community where the expressway accident happened. And I was just thinking, it's my neighborhood. I used to live there because I was teaching at Oakhurst Elementary. So I was really sad when I heard the news about that accident because I was thinking about my community, my students, mis niños. And I'm surprised of how things work. Because I wasn't looking specifically for that picture, but now I'm going to stop. Let me see if I can move this so you can. So esto dice así. Te pregunté si mi palabra sería incesante, camino o abrigo. Me pregunté si esa palabra también sería voz que te invita. a caminar conmigo. ¿O acaso bosque se escribe en sentencia que dicta dejando huella? Estación que al caer la tarde guarda para mí el eco de tu voz. Te pregunté si acaso serías tú conmigo y yo contigo ese infinito que deja atrás el paréntesis con el que elegimos pausar nuestras vidas, intentando contar a contraluz un final mejor. Me pregunté si sería yo la causa de tus guerras y tú la quietud de esa sombra que camina a mi costado haciéndome el día mejor. Me pregunté si eras tú el hombre por quien alcanzaría una estrella, intentando regalarte en su resplandor la eternidad del amor. Gracias. Gracias.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was just typing a little bit about the 100+ car pileup that you were referring to. And it was by your old neighborhood, ahí in Oakhurst?
Yes, it was. I realized that it was in front. I was just like getting news and messages from colleagues here in San Antonio, and they were asking me if I knew about the incident. So I was during that, like the morning, I was only able to see that view like from air, but when I see that like empty land on the sides of the expressway, I have this picture about the 35 West. So I was like, it has to be close to Oakhurst. And it's over the bridge that goes across from north side, and it becomes Yucca. And on Yucca, it's my school. So I was just thinking, I was trying like asking, like sending messages if my parents were fine, and my former students, my colleagues there, because I was, at the same time, I was taking care of my babies because I'm a pre-K teacher. So I was, just by looking at that image, I just realized that it was in my neighborhood. And when it was clear to me is when they gave out like the place to reunite the families, and they gave this address that it was the Riverside Community Center. And it was 2 blocks from my house and 4 blocks from my school. So I was really, well, I was thinking about my students because they are still my students. It doesn't matter that I'm here in San Antonio. They are my students forever.
Of course. Yeah, your heart is so big. I know you're feeling the tug of all the accidents and the problems and the epidemic y todo. It's a lot, it's a lot to hold. It's a lot.
And it's really hard for us as teachers, because I teach and I have 6 students in my classroom, and it's really hard for us to be telling them, don't hug me, I cannot hold you, and see them crying and trying to comfort them, but not touching them because we want to take care of them. I was relating to your poem where you were telling, Lena, where you were saying that you realized that you were a caregiver. And my mother taught me when she was taking care of my dad to be a caregiver. And that's what I do. That's why I love my job, my profession. It's my call to be there for my kids. So it's really, it hurts to be there just trying to say no and trying to do not create this, like to damage them, and trying to explain them why is it that I'm there taking care of them, but I'm not able to hold them. It's really hard. Gracias, Tammy. Thanks also for being there for me in Fort Worth when I was like just an stranger. Like that's why I called initially my project, it was called Exilio Forzado, because like being so Latina, so Mexicana, porque yo soy Mexicana, I was like a foreigner in my country. Like it doesn't matter if you have a citizenship, you are still a foreigner at some communities, but you were there for me, and I want to say thank you. Thanks for inviting me today. Gracias, Tammy, por esa conversación que tuvimos cuando nos conocimos.
Yeah, and you were the reason I got to see Jessica Salgado, because you gave me the right to go to Dallas, because I don't have a car. So yeah, that it was such a great trip. You were so generous. Thank you. And then I was sad when you moved to San Antonio, but I knew you needed to be there for your children. And also there are so many writers down there. And I know you're very connected. And I love that. I love that that's happening for you. You know, you're finding community down there también. So.
Gracias, gracias.
Pero aquí está tu casa if you want to come back.
I know, and you know that I will be back. I'm just like praying.
Okay, so next we have Lane, who has just left her couch and her screen. Lane Calabro is going to be our final reader for the night. And Lane, you're going to bring it, however you're going to bring it. Loud, big, small, whispery, well, however you like.
It always be loud, doesn't it? Yeah, but kind of fun. I think close it out a little funny in a way. This is a little lighthearted for me, a little different. You know, it's about the love of self, but also learning to love Lubies. So yeah, those of you that know Lubies. Okay.
Cafeteria. It's a cafeteria style restaurant.
Kind of the cafeteria.
Like first, I know there's other, we used to have one named Colonial Cafeteria, which that's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. Yeah, it's a little tricky.
I hope you're right about the special. I hope the special one made it into your poem.
Well, maybe so. So here we go. The trick to successful cafeteria dining is familiarity, the extra 1-2 punch of knowing what goes on the combo platter. It can be unnerving for a hungry line dining newbie to know the correct components of a Luann platter. Quieted by the choices and the boundaries, it's easy to succumb to the pressure to keep moving. Do not ask questions, and for heaven's sakes, no substitutes. And next thing you know, you have mashed instead of fries, and that extra side is gonna cost you. Trays knock, and the regulars lean in, covertly counting the remaining chocolate pie just to ensure that they get their piece. Paying and pushing through, we finally dart for an open table by the window. Our spot is staked. The sun is warm and the cafe is full of families. Any lingering panic softens as the first bite of the buttered topped mashed tells me that I will come back. But next time, with broader shoulders and a wider stance, creating space enough to be curious and to lean and learn the complexities of each delicious morsel. Then I can make my best choice as I learn to love Lubies. Thank you. It's been traumatic at Lubies sometimes.
Oh, especially when the diehards know exactly what they want and you're holding them up in the line, right?
Totally.
You have to go off hours.
So I want to remind folks that we do have, Dando Poets does have a Facebook group. So if you want to kind of stay in a loop, get information directly through this forum, you're welcome to join the group. And sometimes we post things there that have to do with the Dando Poets series or opportunities to read or things like that. So yeah, it's under quote unquote Dando Poets, and it's a public group. So you're welcome to send in a request to be in the group. For next month, like I said before, we're going to be focusing on, honoring sources of water, rivers, oceans, seas, and backyard swimming pools, even, and drinking water and or lack thereof, potable water, lack thereof, and mistreatment, overtreatment, or kind of commercial sequestering of sources of water by evildoers who have their claws on natural resources in a way that I don't think should be. Yeah, thumbs down on that. Boo hiss. Thank you to all who have read. I'm going to say your names out loud one more time with everybody unmuting themselves for a big old huzzah and applause for Cristina Cortez, Isaac Chavarria, Lorena Sanchez, Richard Loringer, Jose Rodriguez, Priscilla Rice, Guadalupe.
Bravo, bravo.
Bravo. Kit Jones and Lane Calabro. Thank you to all, and Graciela también stepped in to share her one poem also. So thank you for your cheerfulness, for your joy, for sharing, and for taking us even to despondent, sad, despairing moments, because that's part of the human heart experience. I really appreciate your company. It means so much. I'm going to hang out here. Thank you, Ramsey, for your comment. All you silent listeners who were here just to watch and listen, so valuable. You're so valuable to us. And I want to say none of these people were paid to be here, to sit and listen. They came of their own volition. Yeah. And so you can come of your own volition next time, whether or not you're reading, and drop your comments, any last final parting saludos and farewells in the chat, or just say them out loud. I'll stop talking so I can hear you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy, for getting us together. Yay, yay,
Yeah, this was beautiful, as always.
Good to see and hear you, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tammy. Wonderful. Drink up.
Salud.
I'm still going through the polar vortexes, so I'm not out of it completely yet.
Take care. Thank you very much. Take care.
Yes,
bye, everyone.
of course.
Yeah, it was really good, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Tamata. Love y'all. Big hearts.
Love you.
Tammy, you got drinking water?
Oh no! I just have it in the bag because it's not so cold to hold. No, it's Dos Equis.
I mean, do you have some drinking water just in case?
Oh yeah.
In case you run out of Dos Equis?
Yeah. I didn't understand the question, I guess.
Yeah.